I absolutely love Jurassic Park, point blank period. I have been a fan of this franchise since I was a kid, and with Jurassic World Rebirth on the horizon, I figured, hey, now is the best time to rank the movies that we got so far. So, to keep me from yapping too damn much, let's get straight into the video. Let's rank every single Jurassic Park movie from worst to best. Please keep in mind, this is my opinion. These are the movies that I prefer. If you don't agree, hey, it is what it is, but if you do agree, I rock with you. But at the very bottom, Jurassic World Dominion. Now, I will admit, when I first saw this movie in the theater in 2022, I thought this was absolute dog shit. Seeing as that I didn't hate Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom like a lot of people, the way I saw it, the Jurassic franchise was at a 5 out of 5 at this point. Every movie was enjoyable. But here comes the sixth one. And I was like, what in the hell is going on? You took a Jurassic Park movie and made it about locusts? Really? The whole movie was about these goddamn bugs, and that was just ridiculous to me. And there was like a good 45 minutes to damn near an hour of this movie that could have been cut out. I mean, the extended version of the film is like 2 hours and 40 minutes long. That's the longest movie in this franchise, and honestly, it did not need to be that long. But when I finally rewatched it again 3 years later, I realized this movie had a lot of redeeming qualities. I really appreciate the fact that they kind of went back to formula. They mixed CGI with animatronics, unlike the first Jurassic World movie where everything was straight CGI. The Giganotosaurus should have been a much bigger threat, but they kind of fumbled and kind of made him like an afterthought. The legacy characters coming back for the film, while it was kind of forced by Hollywood, at the end of the day, I'm never gonna complain about seeing the OGs. There were some pretty cool callbacks to the first film, and overall, I just kind of liked it. I don't hate it as much as I used to. Does that mean that I'm ignoring the clear flaws of the movie? Absolutely not, but overall, I do rock with it. The next movie I got on the list is The Lost World Jurassic Park. Now listen, I don't hate this movie at all. I do think that it's very important to the franchise. I also respect it because it's the last movie in the franchise that was actually based on a book. However, it was just really boring. I thought that even when I was a kid. The most exciting part of the movie to me personally was when the T-Rex was running around the city. And I actually thought that that's kind of how Jurassic World Dominion would have been. I think we would have spent more time like on actual land, but instead, we ended up in another remote location. Now, I know nostalgia may cause a lot of people to put this movie higher on the list, but I really try to keep my nostalgia at bay sometimes because it can kind of blind you. But I usually rank movies based on how much I enjoy them and how much I rewatch them. And to be perfectly honest, out of the 6 Jurassic movies, The Lost World is the one that I've rewatched the least amount of times. But either way it go, still a solid movie. I respect it. Without it, we wouldn't be where we are today. After that, man, I got Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Admittedly, this movie felt like they had no clue what they wanted to do. They just had to make a Jurassic movie. They basically just said, hey, take what we did with the first one, kind of redo that same thing, but just kind of change it up a little bit. I think this movie further showed just how horrible the humans are in this universe. It's like you would think by now y'all would understand the threat of these dinosaurs, but it just goes to show you how capitalism ruins everything. People are so money hungry that they're willing to literally hold an auction for freaking dinosaurs for whatever fucking reason. And then you made another hybrid. And it's funny to me how they keep trying to make Dr. Wu like this unfortunate scientist who keeps creating things and he's being taken advantage of, but it's like, bro, you're the one who keeps doing this shit. You were the main engineer behind the first Jurassic Park. You were the main engineer behind the Indominus Rex. You were the main engineer behind the Indoraptor. And were you not also the main engineer behind the Locust from Jurassic World Dominion? At this point, I'm convinced that Dr. Wu is the villain of this whole damn universe. Speaking of the Indoraptor, I do think he was a pretty cool hybrid, but it just didn't really feel that much different than the Indominus. He did try to use a lot of horror elements in Fallen Kingdom, and I do appreciate that being a horror fan, but overall, this movie was cool. I rock with it, but I think it pretty much deserves to be where it is on my list. Next, man, I got Jurassic Park III. A movie that I have been defending since 2001 when I was 10 when I first saw this thing. This was the second Jurassic Park movie that I vividly remember seeing in the theater. I do remember seeing Lost World when it came out. I was like 6. But when Jurassic Park 3 came out, I was 9 going on 10, and I definitely remember that experience. The Spinosaurus on the big screen is something that I will never forget. Me personally, I think the Spinosaurus should have came back for Jurassic World. I mean, imagine seeing the T-Rex and the Spinosaurus team up to beat the Indominus Rex. I think that would have been peak cinema. The only thing I didn't like about the Spinosaurus is the fact that he killed a T-Rex in like 10 seconds. But I get it. They were kind of just using that as a way to make him the big bad, but whatever. You can't do that to the OG. That's kind of fucked up. Now, this movie definitely had flaws. There were a lot of things about this movie that I kind of thought was stupid. For example, how the hell that little boy survived on an island for 8 weeks. And then they did a lot of things with the velociraptors that kind of made them borderline human. That was weird. And then them using that weird little man-made 3D sculpted velociraptor vocal thing, I think that was just dumb as hell. But this was the 2000s and a lot of dumb shit got passes in that decade, so I'm gonna just let it rock for the sake of letting it rock. Overall, Jurassic Park 3 did have a little charm to it, and it's kind of a guilty pleasure movie, and that's exactly why it's at number 3 on my list. But at number 2 on my list, without question, is Jurassic World from 2015. I think this is one of the best movie franchise reboots of all time, and I think it perfectly mirrors the first movie by showing us exactly what would have happened if the park actually opened, and it ended up being a much more disastrous event than the first one, because there were actual people, like guests, on the island who were getting picked off by pterodactyls. I think the Indominus Rex was a great villain in the movie, even though he really wasn't the villain, because the humans are always the villain, but you get my point. I love how they presented the threat of the Indominus Rex throughout the film. They really wanted you to feel like this was a bad motherfucker. And seeing the T-Rex and the Velociraptor go against the Indominus Rex and then the Mesosaurus coming up at the end to save the day, I think that was pretty cool. However, I hated the fact that they used all CGI. There was no practical effects or animatronics in this movie. But if you can look past that, I really do like this film. But of course, the first one is at the number 1 spot. I mean, you cannot beat the original Jurassic Park from 1993. Not only is this the best movie in the franchise, I think Jurassic Park is one of the greatest movies ever put on film, especially in the 90s, bro. Dinosaurs were everywhere for us as 90s kids. I do think it was a huge fumble that they didn't make Jurassic Park a horror movie, because it definitely should have been. But when you look at it, you got to realize you got toys, you got merch, you got so much stuff that could have been done with this movie if it was more catered towards kids and families. So I kind of understand that, because fun fact, in 1994, Jurassic Park toys, merch, and video games had already made $1 billion. In 1994, I want you to do a inflation calculator and see how much $1 billion in 94 would be worth today. And they did the CGI and the animatronics so well in this movie, bro, that there are a lot of times where I'm like, are you sure these ain't real dinosaurs? The fact that the 1993 Jurassic Park movie looks a lot better than some of the more recent films is kind of crazy. Also, there are very few movies that I think are a 10 out of 10, and Jurassic Park is definitely one of those movies. This movie is easily in my top 5 movies of all time. Jurassic Park is a freaking gold mine. But all right, y'all, that's how I would rank all the Jurassic movies. Y'all holler at me in the comments and let me know what you think. And we got Jurassic World Rebirth coming out in July. So, hey, we'll revisit this video, do another ranking, and see where that one holds up. I got high hopes for that movie, and I really hope it doesn't disappoint me. But, hey, when it comes to Hollywood, you just got to keep your expectations a little low. And I'll holler at y'all in the next video.